Hello everyone, the topic is domestic violence. Domestic violence refers to any form of physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological abuse that occurs within the confines of a domestic or family relationship. This abuse typically takes place between spouses or partners, but it can also involve other family members such as parents, children, or siblings. It includes actions like physical assault, verbal threats, emotional manipulations, all of which cause harm, injuries, and distress to the victim within their home or family settings. Domestic violence is defined under Section 3, read with Section 2G of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. Types of abuse, effects of domestic violence. Under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 in India, the following are the types of abuse that are recognized and addressed. Physical abuse are any form of physical violence or harm, such as slapping, punching, kicking, choking, or using objects to cause injury. Emotional, psychological abuse are any actions that cause emotional or mental distress, such as constant humiliation, threats, intimidation, insults, and controlling behavior. Verbal abuse means the use of derogatory language, verbal threats, or constant yelling to instill fear or emotional harm. Sexual abuse means forcing of sexual acts without consent, marital rape, or any form of sexual coercion and exploitation within the marriage or domestic relationship. Economic abuse is controlling the victim's financial resources, preventing access to money, or denying the right to work or education. Stalking is repeatedly following, monitoring, or harassing the victim either physically or through electronic means. Cyberbullying is using technology and social media platform to harass, intimidate, or defame the victim. Emotional blackmailing is manipulating the victim's emotion, guilt-tripping, or threatening harm to themselves or others if certain demands are not met. Procedures involved in filing a domestic violence case and the powers and functions of protection officers and service providers. The first step is to file a complaint at the magistrate courts seeking protection and relief under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. The complaint can be filed by the aggrieved woman or on her behalf by any person like a family member, friend, or a protection officer. The complaint can be made on plain paper or in a prescribed form depending on the court's requirement. It should contain essential details like the name and address of the complainant and the respondent, that is the accused, a description of the domestic violence faced and the relief sought. Upon receiving the complaint, the magistrate can grant immediate or interim protection to the aggrieved woman if they deem it necessary for her safety. This could include protection orders prohibiting the respondent from committing any act of domestic violence. The court will issue a notice to the respondent informing them about the complaint filed against them and summoning them to appear before the court on a specified date. At the court hearing, both the aggrieved woman and the respondent will have the opportunity to present their side of the case along with any evidence or witnesses supporting their claims. The court may admit various forms of evidences including documents, witnesses, medical reports, and any other relevant information to establish the occurrence of domestic violence. Based on the evidence and the arguments presented, the court can pass protection orders which may include restraining the respondent from committing further act of violence, granting residence orders, or directing the respondent to provide monetary relief to the aggrieved woman. Once the court issues the protection orders, it is essential for both parties to comply with the court's directives. Failures to comply with the court's orders may result in legal consequences. Protection orders issued under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 may be valid for a specified period, and they can be renewed if required depending on the circumstances. The Act of 2005 aims to protect women from domestic violence and provide them with legal recourse, including obtaining protection orders, residence orders, monetary relief, custody orders, and compensation orders, among other provisions. It is important to note that magistrates have the power to grant interim and ex parte orders. The Act of 2005 provides for the appointment of protection officers and registration of non-governmental organizations such as service providers for assistance to the aggrieved person with respect to her medical examination, obtaining legal aid, safe shelter, etc., and empowers the magistrate to pass protection orders in favor of the aggrieved person to prevent the respondent from aiding or committing an act of domestic violence or any such specific act, entering a workplace or any other place frequented by the aggrieved person, attempting to communicate with her, isolating any assets, operating bank lockers or bank accounts used by both the parties, and causing violence to the aggrieved person, her relatives or others who provide assistance to her for domestic violence. Rights of aggrieved person and the duties of shelter homes and medical facilities. Under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 in India, an aggrieved person, typically a woman, is entitled to the following rights. Right to protection. The aggrieved woman has the right to seek protection from any form of domestic violence, including physical, emotional, sexual, verbal, or economic abuse. Right to residence. The Domestic Violence Act grants the aggrieved woman the right to reside in the shared household regardless of her ownership or legal entitlement to the property. She cannot be forced to leave the home, and the court may pass a residence order to protect her right to stay. Right to monetary relief. The aggrieved person has the right to claim monetary relief to cover medical expenses, losses suffered, and any other financial loss resulting from the domestic violence. Right to compensation. The court may order the respondent to pay compensation to the aggrieved woman for the injuries, both physical and mental, caused by the domestic violence. Right to protection orders. The court can issue protection orders directing the respondent to cease any form of violence, stop contacting the aggrieved person, or remain a certain distance away from her. Right to residence orders. The court may pass residence orders that grants the aggrieved woman the right to reside in the shared household and can even exclude the respondent from the same property. Right to custody orders. If the aggrieved person has children, the court may pass orders regarding their custody, ensuring the safety and well-being of the children. Right to compensation for safety. The Domestic Violence Protection Act allows for compensation to be awarded to the aggrieved person for taking care of the child or the children. Right to legal aid. The aggrieved person has the right to free legal aid and the assistance of a lawyer during the court proceedings. Right to confidentiality. The Domestic Violence Act ensures that the identity and the address of the aggrieved person remains confidential and her privacy is protected throughout the legal process. Right to file a complaint. The aggrieved person has the right to file a complaint at the magistrate court or with the protection officer even if there is no police case or FIR registered. Right to no discrimination. The Domestic Violence Act prohibits any discrimination against the aggrieved person based on her caste, religion, race, class, or educational background. The state government is empowered by a notification for the establishment of shelter homes under the Act. Their function is to protect the rights of the women to secure housing and to reside in a matrimonial home or shared household, whether or not she has any title or right in such home or household. This right is secured by a residence order which is to be passed by the magistrate. Additionally, medical facilities which include hospitals, clinics, and healthcare providers have certain duties when dealing with cases of domestic violence. These duties are aimed at providing support and assistance to the victim. The duties include right to privacy and confidentiality, providing medical assistance, informing about rights and services, providing medical certificates, etc. Thank you.